Or recording in progress. Okay, good evening, guys. I'm out. Okay, let's start the meeting. We got three guys online, John Monica, Rick, and the other Rick. TIA and RH. Good evening, guys. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people here in person. So glad to have everyone here. A couple of things I'm going to deal with quickly before we get onto the program. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. Thank you. Okay, currently we've got 43 active members, so that means dues paid up for this year, members, the TDXS. We're about on course with what we were last year at this time. I'm going to mention Boulay just to say, let's all wait until all the facts are in before we start to judge the expedition. I thought they did a hell of a job under the circumstances. Now we got this upcoming Sable Island, CY0S, the expedition March 20th to 29th. And I had asked for people to give their approval or disapproval on contributing to $100 for the club to that effort. So far, I've got 17 yeses and I don't have any no's, so I guess that passes. Sort of. Anyway. We also have one of our TDX members has agreed to or offered to kick in an additional $100, which would grow ours to $200, and that would be matched by the anonymous donor that the expedition has. So that makes $400. So get some leverage out of that. That's all that I had as a preamble to get into the program. Anybody else have anything they want to say?
I'd like to mention something as a warm-up to the RTC. K5G and Dave put together the theme for 5-land N5W. And we participated in that over a fairly long period of time. It was kind of like the K5DX 50 years ago, where you had slots of time that you operated. And I don't remember all the big things. We had the 4 times of everybody. I'm just working off the top of my head. But we had a blast. And you could work different bands, different times. I don't know. I made 2,000 plus QSOs.
Wow. Over what period of time?
For me it was 5 days.
Wow. That's
I operated for 5 days.
That's good.
But it was really a hoot. We had a great time, and there were guys from different parts of the 5-land and other places operating remotes, and I'm sure that's me.
No, it's me.
Okay. Anyway, that was a lot of fun, and it's like I said, it was prep for the WRTC, and it was really good. I was tickled to death to be invited.
One of the things that I was curious about, and when I signed up for that and operated, was how long is this going to last into the month before we start getting a lot of use? It wasn't long at all. I don't think we went more than 10 days before we started getting, at least I started getting a lot of tips.
You're just really popular.
Pardon?
You're just really popular.
Yeah, there were instances, at least 3 instances, that I can recall, where a station work week, he was in Duke. Now, it's not my N1MM telling me it's a Duke, it's when I log in. And it goes into the main database. And then they flag it as a Duke or a real QSO. And he got flagged. Right? And not but about 10 minutes later, that same guy duped me again. and I worked him again just for the hell of it. As soon as I hit enter and sent my exchange and it got logged, or my TU and it got logged, I watched on the screen and sure enough, he popped up on the screen and flagged with a Duke. And that happened 3 times. 3 different stations duped me within my own operating time frame. And it just boggled my mind.
Short-term memory.
Or they're just very long.
What was really interesting is we have an online logging system. So I was using N1MM. You could have used other software, but that's what I was using. And I was using the UDP, the user defined protocol stuff over the internet to send the data that I logged to the main log. So just like Dale, I'm trying in a way there. There were rules about what's a duplicate, and I think that you could work a station once a day per band or per mode or something. I don't really didn't really understand that. I worked whoever called, you know, that kind of thing. But you'd see those and I was really surprised at how well that logging worked. I mean, it was not instantaneous, but it was fast. I mean, it really was, and sometimes it would be 25 to 40 stations working at one time. Right? You know, on the panel that we had to look at, it shows you all the activators, the people who are working. Right? You can see them all by call center, and then as the log scrolled by, you can see, you know, KG5U made this contact, AJ4F made this contact, K5GM made this contact, you know, K6LL made this contact, and it was scrolling past you.
And it was scrolling fast.
Well, it was cool.
There were times when I logged stations. And by the time I made sure that went out okay and my CQ was going out, and I looked over at the screen to see the, you know, my most recent QSO show up. He was already 2/3 of the way down the screen and almost disappeared. How many? Let's see. There's 1 million something.
Yeah, well over 1 million, million 3.
Oh, yeah.
1,000,003, 1,004 QSOs. Right?
It was incredible. It was a blast. We ought to do that more often.
And I just wondered, I sent this out on the reflector. I just wondered if, you know, that it was using the software that's available. You can, I guess you say rate it, right? The logging kind of thing. There might be something that we could do as a club like that sometime in the future. You know, field day or some other contest where we're gonna make a collective log, right? And it's good to learn about such things, and it worked well. It looked pretty easy from the user end. It was pretty easy to get set up and all that. I have no idea about the server. It costs like, if I remember right, it was 135 euros for a short duration operation, 2 days. Might be that for future thought. Maybe.
Is it open for any discussion? Or about business or what? Can I say something?
Yeah, I always have a hard deadline at 9 o'clock, so.
Okay, no, it's field day. Are we gonna do it? Number one, big bark again, I guess, saying. Anybody? Know
I'd
anything?
sure like to see something different.
Okay, and then the next thing is I read a little blurb, ARLs, that's, you know, gonna be about field day and rescoring things. Where everything counts as 1 point, whether it's a phone or a CWQ. I don't, you know, I think now, I don't know about the digital, so I know that's 2 points or 1 point, but I know a CWQ is 2 points. on our organization.
Digital is 2 points too.
And phone is 1 point.
Yeah.
And, but they're gonna discuss making everything 1 point. I kind of object. Like, is this another nail in the coffin for CW, you know? I don't know how you guys feel, but I will be in discussion. I just read that yesterday.
No, I feel pretty strongly that CW should be higher, more points. And if nothing else, makes FT8 less points.
Yeah.
I mean, things that are real easy should not be as many points as things that are a little more difficult.
But in my case, I have to ask for 2 points for single cycles. It's hard for me to spell my damn name. And even though I shortened it to NIC, I'm getting more and more requests for more information. But, you know, so I started the SSD contest. I got involved in it and I said, well, all right, I'm gonna go for it. The first guy I got, slow as molasses. And what was there? A lot of it. By the time I got done, I said, turn that sucker off.
Yeah, let's just go by Bob or
But
something.
anyway, you got to sign up for that. I think we ought to.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I like
Yeah.
that too. I like that too. And not only us, but it's, you know, if you belong to somebody like CWS.
Yeah, they all are.
SKCC or this or many of the other CW organizations. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you
Get
look
them
around,
involved and get them pressing URL.
You want to screen share?
nobody.
Screen share that. Says it's over there.
That's what I
Okay,
did.
that's it.
I have a comment.
Oh, it is, okay.
I like this. I have a comment. Who's going today? 1, 2, 3. I thought I'd share this news. I don't know how many of you know K5 WA, Bob Evans. Yeah.
I know.
But he's one of the best operators I've ever met. He's on CWI service. Anyway, he is now on the WRSPC team for Italy. And his teammate is from Malaysia. And his teammate is coming to his house in May. And Bob contacted me, he wanted to borrow my account rig so they can practice here at his home. Because this guy from Malaysia, named Sadie, SATY, he has an account, he wants to use that account for the WRTC. So Bob's gonna borrow my 7610. So he hooked it to his K4, they can work together.
Cool.
Anyway, and also they're coming to Hamden, and they're gonna be at the contest dinner. They're gonna be sitting at Richard King's table. I was scheduled to sit at Richard's table, but I gave up my ticket so that they could get a distance. So that's just news. If you're planning to go, if you're going to contest dinner, look like Richard King's sitting with his friend Bob and Sidney. That's it.
You want to turn your microphone on, I'll turn mine off.
Yeah. So I can do that.
I'm muted.
And now. This part we have left this out.
Now you
Okay. It's okay, so okay. Testing. Is that better? Hey, Rick, you guys out there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so I guess I'll start. What the plan is here is I'm going to go through a few slides with a little bit of background information, and then I'm going to switch screens and I'm going to do this online since this is VOACAP online. And I'll explain why I chose this option. Okay. Okay, so in the early days of radio, the transmission and reception of radio waves over long distances was observed, but nobody really understood it. It's just one of those things that happen. And in the early days, it was of great curiosity, but not very important because radio really had no place in the world. But as radio became more important, the understanding about propagation became more and more important. For instance, like one of the first real uses was ship to shore type communication. So it became necessary to understand how this propagation was occurring. And that drove a lot of research, and many people worked at this in order to understand what the causes. So the results, they discovered that radio waves were actually bent by some layer in the atmosphere. There's a conductive region that didn't really have a name or anything like that, but they discovered that radio waves would be refracted as they passed through this. In some cases, they would pass all the way through it with very little bending. In other cases, they would be almost totally bent or reflected back. And so, this is just part of what they learned. They also learned that there was not one region, but there were several regions of the atmosphere that were involved. And these regions came to be known kind of collectively as the ionosphere. They also learned that the higher the intensity of solar radiation, the higher frequency of radio waves that would be refracted. So they just, this was a process that took a number of years. So the intensity of the solar radiation reaching the regions in the atmosphere depends on a lot of things. It's
You shared the screen?
Yeah. I shared my screen. I am. There we go.
What?
I want to close it.
Say again?
Trying to remember what the,
On this computer, it's F8, but PC screen on. I'm trying to get into Zoom so I can share, make sure the screen is shared. Start all over. Okay, can you hear? Can you see now?
See, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm at 3, the results of investigations. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, they found out there were several regions, and these regions, the conductivity of these regions was primarily affected by solar radiation. And the higher the intensity of the solar radiation, the higher the frequency of radio waves that would get refracted. And the intensity of the solar radiation is impacted by a lot of things: the time of day, the seasons, the geographic location on the Earth's surface, the solar cycle, and the condition of the Earth's magnetic field. And the Earth's magnetic field is affected by the charged particles that come off the sun that are known as solar wind. They're charged particles, so a charged particle moving makes a magnetic field. That's basic magnetics. So there is a great deal of interaction there. So they've come up with various methods to predict propagation that take these variables and work them in, kind of put them into an engine and come out with what is the real impact on communications. These methods are complicated. They have a lot of data, a lot of things I didn't talk about here. I'm not trying to talk about propagation. I'm really trying to focus on how to get a prediction out of this program. And so I'm just giving this a small amount of background information here, which you guys certainly know most of this. But with personal computers, this has become pretty easy to do. Easy meaning the software is available, and if you learn how to use the software, you can generate a prediction without too much difficulty. There's a book which I will talk about at the very end, just as a reference book, that shows you how to do all this graphic. So you can sit down with several sheets of paper and a big table and a calculator and grind out your own predictions if you want to do so, but it's not very pleasant, really. I don't think. So since the TDXS, one of the things we try to do is work DX. So I try to find tools that help me do that. And I share the tools that I learn that I feel are effective with other members. And that is what is driving this discussion tonight.
I use a program called DX Labs. It's my general logging program, and it has a propagation engine built into it. So it automatically does a lot of these things. Many people don't like that program because DX Labs, because it is kind of complicated and it has pretty steep learning curves, so on and so forth. But I learned from working with that the engine that they use is a VOACAP. And this VOACAP is Voice of America Coverage Analysis Program. And so I decided to see what other versions of VOACAP were available. And I found this online version, which is what we're going to talk about tonight. The Voice of America people wanted to make sure that their programs could be heard as well as possible throughout the world with their propaganda and that they were trying to spread. And so understanding propagation was pretty important for them to know how much power, antenna locations, frequencies, all that sort of thing, just like us, just for a slightly different reason. So VOACAP, this program is demonstrated over the years. The engine, the calculations are demonstrated over the years to be effective. And that's one of the reasons that you see it so often. It's demonstrated to be accurate. It's relatively easy to use, as you'll see here in a few minutes. It has a pretty effective user interface because it doesn't require you to do too many things. And I'm looking at this kind of like driving a car. If you, I don't know if you guys have ever tried to drive a bulldozer, but the old bulldozers with a clutch for each track and brakes for each track and a gear shift and an overall clutch. It's a fiasco. It takes 4 arms and 3 legs to do it effectively, in my opinion. But anyway, with this program, you don't have to have such, it's not so complicated to use. It's online. So anybody who has a browser and an internet connection can have access to this program. There's nothing to buy. And most of us do online logging these days. So most of us have an internet connection to a radio computer. So I'm thinking it's there. All you have to do is just reach over and turn it on. That kind of thing. This program also collects the relevant physical data, sunspot numbers, solar radiation, all those sort of things. It knows where to go to get that data to put into the engine to do the calculations. If you do this, using the manual method, like I talked about earlier, there's a whole list of places where you have to go to get the data. And that's one of the things that makes it kind of cumbersome, is to go collect the data. So this program collects the data, and it has data available to it for some days in the future. Now, I don't know exactly how many, and the author doesn't say exactly how many, but it has seemed to work pretty well for me. So I imagine it's probably on the order of a minute without having any supporting evidence to do that. So there's a couple of definitions. One of the key elements that you'll see a lot of times in this is the sunspot number, or the smooth sunspot number, which is what SSN is. And this is what this program uses to relate how much ionization there is in that ionosphere. It comes off of that. I learned in the research when I was reading this other book that I use as a reference is in 2013, they changed the way they calculate sunspot numbers. The way they count sunspots. So it gets really cloudy these days as far as how many sunspots there are. But the main definition to look at here is this REL number, because this program is going to give it to you. This is called circuit reliability. This takes the mode that you're going to use. It takes the data about the ionosphere and the power and the antennas that you have, and it calculates the probability that there will be sufficient signal strength between 2 stations to make a contact using that mode. And this reliability number comes up, this is basically what it is. And it gives you some information down here. It says the required signal to noise ratio is an internal value that's set by the program, the guy who wrote it, relating to the transmitting mode. And he gives a couple of numbers here that are not terribly meaningful to me. They might be more meaningful to you. But if you look at this program, you'll see that single sideband is not as effective as CW, and CW is not as effective as the digital modes. FT8, for instance, is one of the ones that they use. And that's because of the capabilities to be able to decode that, to decode that information. So I'm going to switch over here in a few minutes, and we're going to look at the actual program itself. I'm going to show you how to set it up. I'm going to show you how to generate a prediction. And some of you are members of my little group called DX Opportunity. And while FT8WW and 3J0Y, while they're on, I use this program to generate propagation predictions. And I publish those on that so you can see them and use them. And that's where my data comes from. That's what I've been doing.
And what is that group again?
It's called DX Opportunity.
Okay.
John, it is a Slack. Slack is a work group situation.
Yeah.
If you want to participate in that,
just
send me an email and I will invite you. I'll send you an invitation.
Okay.
And anyway, so I want to show you how to interpret the data out of VOACAP. I want to give you just a few variations, and we'll try to answer some questions. So I guess I have to stop sharing this, and I have to start sharing my. Where is my propagation? Or maybe I don't. Okay, can you see the screen with the world on it and the 2
Yes.
points? Okay, so this is VOACAP Online, and over here, up in the upper left-hand corner, you have to select a TX or transmit location and a receiving location. You can do this a number of different ways by country, and this is the ARRL country list, or the country list that we use in both cases. You can pick there. I prefer to use grid squares because grid squares are a little bit more granular, and you can find a grid square for most any station off QRZ.com, or you can guess. I mean, that's my preference. Anyway, so there's my grid square. This is EL29FR. I'm actually LM, but that's good enough. And the grid I want to work, this is LE54, with this is FT8WW location. Okay, so so over here on this side, on the right-hand side, you can select the mode that you're talking about using, and it has just a few choices. The power level, I run 100 watts, so that's what I use. Antennas, and then it allows me at the transmitter and receiver site to put in the kind of antenna that I'm using and the height of that antenna. Now, this is not a massively complicated list. As you can see, for me, on 10 meters, I have a 3-element Yagi at 50 feet. On 12 meters, I have a dipole at 50 feet. On 15 meters, I have a 3-element Yagi at 50 feet, so on and so forth. Say again? So there's quite a few. You got quarter wave vertical, 5/8 wave vertical, dipole at different heights, different types of antennas at different heights, different, basically Yagis, and there's even a hex beam. I like that one. So
you know, you pick, and what I do is I pick what I think is the closest to what's going to actually be there. Now I know on my end pretty well, but I don't necessarily know on the other guy's end, right? So here's the receiving site, and it's the same choices. And this guy was using a dipole. I mean, he's using a center fed wire with open wire line and a tuner to match to operate on the various bands. And he does have a vertical. So that's roughly equivalent to a dipole. I used my eye looking at his photographs, and I said it's 30 feet. It's 30 feet. It's 10 meters. I don't know if that's right or not, but it's probably pretty close. It's not 5 meters, and it's not 40. It's not 100 feet. It's not 20 feet. So it's somewhere in between. Okay. Then if you use this button, you press this, it'll save these in your browser. So you won't have to, you know, to remember them. Okay, so I pick my mode. Got in my way, but I don't know how to do it. Pick my mode, I pick my power, my antennas. There's some other settings in here that have to do with propagation planner, which is, this program is much more capable than what I'm going to show you tonight. So a lot of these settings have to do with that. And I would really appreciate it if later on, somebody else could maybe pick up from this and go into a little bit more of that area or longer term propagation planning than what I'm doing. I think that would be good for us as an organization. So that's the settings. So to get to the I see, I want to do the property first. So you put in this information and you ask it for a prediction by either using prop charts, propagation charts, or the prop wheel, the propagation wheel. I find the propagation wheel to be the most easy to understand. And so that's the one I'll start with. So on the propagation wheel, here's the bands. It starts with 80 meters and it goes to 10 meters. Here's the UTC time of day, starting at 0 hours, going all the way around to 24 hours. That's 1 day, right? And so 1 hour, you know, 0 to 1 hour, 1 hour to 2 hours, 2 hours to 3 hours, you know, that's what these wedges are. Okay. So the color tells you what is the percentage of days of a month that you would make a contact under, you know, under the settings, the things that you set up. If it's white, it's 0. So this program is predicting that there would be no propagation between my station and FT8WW in the areas that are white. When you come over at the 5 hour on 10 meters, it actually is predicting a 3% probability of being able to make a contact. Not too good, right? But this is the kind of information it's giving me. And you see when I put my cursor over the square or the segment, then it tells me, it gives me the information in the center, right? So I can go to, you know, this one, there's at the 500 UTC on 15 meters is telling me there's a 60% chance. Now, that's pretty interesting. Never thought about that, but that's what's good about this program. It tells you these things. Now this, go ahead.
So 4 to 5 on 20 meters, you got a 100% chance.
Looks like about, says 83, right?
Just for that.
Yeah. So it's broken into those hour increments. Now, as you see in this square, that says SP. That means short path. So the shortest path around the globe. For a long time, I didn't have a directed antenna, so I didn't really care. But now that I've got one, I've learned to use this, and it can be very important. There's a lot of times when I would not hear a station at all, I would use VOACAP and look at it and ask it, you know, I look long and short path. When it showed me the long path was better. I rotate the antenna around the long path. Wow, there he was. And I actually worked. It was really cool. That's what's really good about, I like about this, okay? So that means short path. So if I press it, that's what's showing. So if I press here, this is long path, and you see it changed. And in this case, percentages went down a lot, but they certainly are different. And that is, I think fantastic as far as giving you the options of which way to look, what time to be on, what bands to be on. It's pretty good. It's really good information. Now with 3Y0J, I use this program, and on 17 meters, I was shocked at how accurate it was. When it told me when the guy was going to be there, and I tuned there at that time, and he was. It was just unbelievable. Now, I didn't work him for a lot of reasons, mostly on FT8 on 17 meters, and probably because he had all those problems with his clock, but it was uncanny. I used this approach to look at which was the best bands overall for 3Y0J. And for me, it was 30 meters. So I built a special antenna for 30 meters, special, meaning just a different one, just a dipole. And I strung it up at 50 feet off the top of the tower, and I was able to work on it. But the important thing was I could hear him every night. I could copy him well every night. And that was the most, a lot of people complained they couldn't. Well, when this thing said I could copy him, I copied. So I was quite happy with it.
So is this tradition taking into account the airline?
Yes, this is the long path. So this is the dotted red line. If I do this, this is the short path, which is the green line. So it gives me a lot of good information. Now, this out of the way. So let's look at the same data from a different perspective. And that is with these prop charts. These prop charts are the same data, but in a graphical form. And you may like some, what suits you may not suit me. So you use the thing that's the most beneficial. And what I like about this is I can take them off. And maybe I'm only interested in whatever 15 meters. There it is. That's the only one I can see. So that gives me it's just another tool, right? It's really kind of a good tool. So I use this to generate these propagation predictions that I was sharing on DX Opportunity, and with sometimes I put them on the cluster, but it's been really quite useful for me. This also has lots of other useful information. I don't know why it doesn't show it, but here is I don't know why I can't get my screen to show. That's what I was trying. I'm trying to get it so you can see that. And I don't know why I can't do that because it shows well on my computer. For whatever reason. But what it is, okay, so down here, this shows me my transmitter location, latitude, longitude, my receiver location, my receiver location, latitude and longitude. It shows me the short path distance in miles and kilometers. It shows me the short path compass heading from my station and the short path compass heading from the other station. Then it gives me the midpoint, and then it gives me the long path the long path, compass headings in both of them. And what these red dots are up at the top, if I could, there they are. What this is, this shows me sunrise at my location. Shows me, see, there's the gray line, sunrise at my location. Here's sunrise at, or no, excuse me, that's midnight. Here's sunrise, here's sunset at my location. Right? You see this, how and this is midnight at my location. I thought. No, that's not working out, is it? It's not changing, and I don't know why. There we go. Okay, so that's sunrise, sunset, midnight. And then this is for the center point location between you. It's the same thing. The top one is the short path, and the bottom one is the long path. Now, if you study the propagation, if you start digging into it in detail, there's some interesting things that appear to be related to that time. So I can't go into them because I didn't study it very much. It's pretty interesting. And here's the same sort of thing for the other station. See, there's his sunrise. There's his sunset. Should be, but it's not, damn it. Midnight. It's the same thing. So this program gives you a lot of data, and it's fairly easy once you kind of get accustomed to it to use. So if you wanted to make another propagation prediction, there's a lot of ways you can do this. I can drag the dot across the screen to put it where I want to. So Sable Island is about here, right? No, roughly, right? So then if I want to get a propagation wheel for that, then here I am. That's right.
You can just work them all the time.
That's right. But seriously, with I don't know why this. I do not know. There we go. But it gives you the prediction for that location, given today's current sunspot data, all that it gets from the what it considers to be reliable sources. So it's, like I said, it's pretty easy to use. Despite my troubles here with this, it's fairly straightforward. What? Yeah, this is all right on mine. I'm not doing any customization to it other than put in my antennas and my location. And I've stored it to tell it to remember my location, the things that I put in, and that's by pressing these. This is the store button, and this is the erase button. I don't know what this one is. Okay. Not sure exactly what that is, never used it. What? Okay, that sounds like a winner. That would probably help me. That would help me at times. So that's what this thing does, and it's really kind of that straightforward. There's much more that you can do with it using these settings to come up with times, broad times of when there's going to be propagation. On the bottom. Yeah. Step up here. Okay, so here, like I said, I explained a little bit about this. This is your clock. You can move the time around. You can look at different times with this slider. What? Yeah, it's the time at the time that's displayed there, right? Like I said, there are lots of options down here. This best frequency, it gives you a table. Again, I haven't studied these, so I don't know a whole lot of detail about them, but it obviously is trying to tell you the best frequency in order to make a contact. I don't have this trouble with I'm using it myself. Okay, sorry. It can give you signal to noise ratio data. Gives you a QSO window, a time. I believe that is a time. But the most important thing down here is there is a manual here somewhere to tell you where you can
On the
get
bottom, user's manual, the very bottom.
Oh, yeah. No.
right there. And it goes through to explain a lot of what I'm explaining in more words, a little bit different, a little bit different detail. This here is an explanation of the times that I was trying to show. Here's an explanation of the clock. It's all there. It's relatively well done. I mean, I found this information relatively easy to use. This talks about inspecting sunrise and sunset times, which I attempted to show there. And it kind of goes through each one of them. Again, talks about antennas. Now, I'm not sure that this program has, like many programs, has a user group, like on Groups.io or something like that. It probably does. I haven't looked for that, but I would imagine it does, since it's pretty well used. And it talks about the things that I've tried to demonstrate here, the propagation charts button. It gives you some cautions, band by band predictions, best frequency. It talks about these all the things that the software can do for you. But I found that for what I was attempting to do, trying to work these DX stations, that propagation wheel was the best thing I could come up with. It seemed to have everything I wanted right there in one spot. So that's what I shared with the people that are on the X opportunity. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys to show you, hey, it's pretty simple to produce that. And, you can, however I get out of this.
It would be a pretty cool addition to this program is, some sort of prediction of when a particular station is going to be there. For example, I mean, it doesn't help you to know the FT8WW has a real good path to your station if he's sleeping or he just isn't on the air. But if you could combine what this thing tells you with sort of information about a particular operator's schedule, then it's a bird's nest on the ground.
No, absolutely. And we use other tools for that kind of thing, right? We look at our DX cluster, we look at the history that this guy's given us. If you use DX, give me a second here, DX Summit, you can get long-term history for operating history for stations. I think it goes back about a month. So you can kind of see when they've been on. And now, of course, what happened in the past is not necessarily a prediction of what's going to happen in the future, but it does give you some idea, right? If the guy's been on, from 0 to 500, most every day for the last 3 or 4 weeks is a good, that's the first place I'd go look for. That's the first time slot I would go look. I mean, of course, you could email him today and find out when he plans to be on, right? Some guys will do that. Some guys will respond to that. Some won't, but they will. Some will. So, man, how much time do I have? Okay, so, I mean, I wanted to keep this simple. I didn't want to stumble as much as I did, but I wanted to keep this simple to kind of show you guys this tool. And if you got questions, I'll do my best to try to answer them. And, see what we can, how this might be able to be useful for you.
The browser will, thank you very much. Store, good job, Rob.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Browser stores information in cookies or clear the cookies.
I think that's how it's stored, right? But, you're really not putting in a lot of information. It's your location, your power, your mode, and your antennas you're picking from a drop-down menu. So it's really pretty easy to recover, right? Really not so difficult. And what else can I tell you? I mean,
I'm curious, I saw some hams call signs on the bottom there where the manual is, and yet this is Voice of America. What did they do? Did these hams sort of take the VOA technology and kind of adapt it to ham radio? Is that?
yes. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and then I'll go back and share this if I can do. Let's see how this. Share screen. So here are the individuals that put this together, that put this online version together. The VOACAP engine, I believe is, I believe it is freeware. It's developed by Voice of America. I believe the actual engine, like the NEC engine that's used for electromagnetic calculations for these antenna programs like EasyNEC and all that stuff, that program is free. You can get it, but you got to build an interface for it. So what these guys did is they took the propagation engine and built this interface for it and made it and put it on the network. So that's, yeah, those are, here are the guys. Here's the link to the online program, but you can find it easily with Google. Here's a book that I read. This is a CQ magazine publication. It's called the CQ Shortwave Propagation Handbook, the 4th edition, which is the latest edition. It's just been published. Here are the authors of it. Yep. And it describes the intricacies of propagation in great detail. And it actually provides you with the methodology that I mentioned a little while ago about being able to do this by hand if you wanted to do so. It tells you how, it gives you some tables and some ways to do some math to help you to do this. And it's really not, it's really not complicated math. It's just tedious because you got so much data to work with, right? And I would strongly recommend any of you that are, have any kind of bent in this direction at all, get a copy of this thing and read it. I learned a heck of a lot of things that I didn't have any clue about earlier. I learned by reading the book. It's not terribly expensive. I think it's like $40, but it's worth it in my mind.
It's got a pop-up ad for that same book.
Yeah. I mean, they got to make money, right? I mean, this is the way the ARRL does it too, right? I mean, we all do that. It's, I look at these things and some of them I don't think are worth it. So you read them and it's like, okay, well, that stuff's in so many other places or it's not well presented or whatever. But this one was pretty well done. Well, I think I would recommend it. I have recommended it to several people. If you're like many of us and you're only interested in the outcomes, studying this VOACAP online and the manual to tell you how to use it is probably as far as you need to go. Because if you pick out any two places, you can get a propagation prediction for them in short order. And it's based on my experience with it, it's pretty accurate. And you got to remember that that's a probability. That's the circuit reliability is the number of days per month that you could expect to complete that path. So if you got a probability of 50, if your circuit reliability is 50, that means half the days of the month you make it, half the days you wouldn't. So it's no guarantee, but it gets you in the right time.
Case 5.
Yeah,
Doesn't help.
that's right. And another thing that would be really good is this. In electrical engineering, to give you an example, in electrical engineering, much of your first years of study have to do with what's known as a steady state condition. In other words, currents that are not changing with time, that kind of thing, things that are constant, and you figure it out. The more involved levels move to things where there's changes with time, where it's non-constant. This is kind of the constant version. This takes the sunspot number and the associated solar radiation and that sort of stuff sort of as a constant. It doesn't change. It gives you the predictability. This does not, to the best of my knowledge, figure in magnetic storms like the one that's predicted to hit this weekend, right? So another thing it would be really good for somebody in this organization to do is kind of like what I did here with the magnetic storm stuff. How does that impact? This gives you the normal expected propagation, but then when the sun has a birth, then things are going to change. They're going to change in short order, and what's going to happen? That would be really good. That those two you have to layer one on top of the other in order to get the most specific prediction of what's going to happen.
Now we do get 40 to 50% like that.
Yeah. And this program only covers 80 through 10 meters. It does have something in it about sporadic E, but I have not studied that, so I chose not to say anything about it because sporadic E is a different mechanism, and it's can be quite good at times. But there's a lot more to it, right? I'm just trying to give you, like I said, to start out. Here's a tool that'll help you make a contact with station A from your station, and we've got quite a few of those. We've got the 3Y0J, the FT8WW still on the air. He's on a rotating schedule. He's on for 3 weeks. He's off for a week. He's on for 3 weeks. He's off for a week, and he's off 5 hours a day, plus whatever time he's going to sleep. So, that's another one. 3Y0. Is it CY0S? Is that the?
Yeah.
That's the Sable Island station, and there's several more coming up. There's a 9U5R that's on, a 9U4WX, several that are coming up that will just be quite. Can I go to DX World? I need my browser right. Well, I'm trying. Got to be able to share it. But I'll get back to Zoom. There's Zoom.
It's like you got some of that stuff on that laptop, I might have 1202 on.
Actually, it's
I
not.
can do that.
Share screen,
Hey, you get the browser.
share, okay. So you want DX World?
Oh. yeah. We lost this ability. Usually on the right hand side, we'll have a. Each one is going down. Okay, that will go right there. That's a nice quick look at a month's worth of the expeditions. That's for February.
Okay.
This is one
So we're right in here in this time frame.
yeah, maybe why did your opera and your four opera yesterday and yeah, that's
Okay. But what else can I share with you guys?
I believe that's all.
No, thanks.
Let me, here's something up here. Okay, let me share this.
Am I sharing anything? I don't think so.
Oh, it's really,
I mean, the VOA still broadcasts, correct?
I think they have started again.
yeah, really.
That's a notice that I received from the W5 Bureau. Giving their information. Basically, the way they have it set up now, you can receive 7 QSL cards in an envelope. And it costs you $1 for that envelope, including stamp. They do not accept any more SASE. They accept on cash.
That's a pretty short time window. DXQSL's not claimed within 60 days, may be destroyed. God, I wonder how many of mine have been destroyed.
Okay, y'all online. What suggestions do you have for the next hybrid Zoom and in-person meeting from your standpoint? No suggestions?
I mean, I personally will probably be attending by Zoom just because I'm immunocompromised and still a little concerned about getting close to people.
What can we do better from here? Besides not figure out how to turn off one microphone or one speaker or kill the echo.
Don't know what we're doing.
And do you feel like you're part of the meeting here?
I do, and I think it was a great presentation tonight.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, well, let's pull the big plug then.
Good. Thank you. Thanks.
So, one last thing.
Okay.
Got just a minute. I'm going on a little bit of a de-expedition tomorrow. No, Saturday morning. I'm a big POTA guy, Parks on the Air, and Atkinson Island is a POTA. And Atkinson Island is a bunch of dredge material in the Houston Ship Channel. And it's got a bunch of snakes on there and alligators and crap like that. It's an ugly, ugly place. But it's about the best de-expedition a 70-year-old guy like me can make. So I'm going to do it. So I hope to hear you guys. It's not an IOTA, it's just a POTA, but it's Atkinson Island, and like I say, it's ugly, but I want to work all the parks in Texas, and I got like 100 and I don't know 148 or 150 of them, and this is one. So
Are you going to announce your operation tomorrow?
yeah, I will, and I will be out there like from 9 o'clock on Saturday till like 2 o'clock, or until some alligator eats me.
John, did you pick up the latest Park on the Air activation?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which is the latest? What you mean, 3Y0?
Yeah,
Yeah, I did work him.
very good.
Excellent.
Yeah. I don't know how if he's going to report that to Parks on the Air, but I guess he will.
I think that if there are a few people that are interested in his doing so.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the best de-expedition I can come up with these days. It's not it's not Bouvet, but it's there.
How do you get there?
I've got a captain who's taking me out in a boat. I actually chartered it. Yeah. I talked to the Park Service about it, and they said, don't try to like do it yourself if you're not a captain, because there are these big tankers that come through there and they will sink you. So yeah, you got to have a boat that's pretty nimble, and you got to know what the hell you're doing, I don't have either of those.
What kind of equipment are you going to have?
Just an FTDX10, a 70 ampere hour battery, a couple of step IRs, and a Wolf River coil, just in case it gets windy out there. Now, the one thing that could really screw me up is this magnetic storm, which is coming in. Apparently, we've had a coronal mass injection, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. So, but I don't care. I'm going to do it.
Are your step IRs verticals or beams?
They're verticals.
Your crank IR?
Yeah, it's crank IR. I have a pair of them.
So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but earlier or last year in the spring, there was a guy who did basically the same thing that John's going to do in grid EL58, which is off the coast of Louisiana. And there is land in EL58, but it's basically spoil banks. So they went out and anchored near a spoil bank. He got a fishing boat charter captain to take him out there, and he operated for 3 days and for portions of 3 days. And EL 58 is one of the grids that you need for Fred Fox Memorial Award 6 meters FFMA. And this guy was from New Mexico or something like that. He was down there. And we just missed it.
Yeah, I remember that one. You know, another one that's really difficult to activate is a thing called Mad Island. And Dave Sarkozy, who is an inactive member, is a birder, and he gets to go down there like once a year or so, and he's activated that twice, but that's another real
Wow.
tough one to get to.
Well, Orville and I did the grid EL 39 from Groves, Texas.
Uh-huh.
Hopefully we're gonna go, hopefully in the spring, K5GZR and myself and maybe Orville are gonna go down to EL 28 and try to activate that grid for 6 meters.
Cool.
Which is, that stuff's a lot of fun.
And where is EL 28?
EL 28 is down toward Bay City, down in that area.
Uh-huh.
Most
Yeah.
of EL 28 is in the Gulf of Mexico.
Right.
And a lot of EL 39 is in swampland in Louisiana and the Gulf.
Right.
The 39 sticks up and gets Grove and right around Beaumont, right around in that area. Yeah,
There's another tough one, Park on the Air, which is Sabine Island, which is just the other side of the Sabine River. It's an island actually in Louisiana, but it's sort of inland.
Yeah.
And the only way you can get to that is by boat too.
Okay, sounds great.
See you guys. Thanks a lot for the presentation.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
See y'all.